Have you ever felt worthless because of what work was asking of you? Well, that used to be me. It didn't start that way. I had it all. I had a PhD from MIT, a great wife, 2 young daughters, and what I thought was my dream job. I was in charge of revolutionizing the way people did human genetics research. Not only was I marketing the product line, I was put in charge of developing the 4th generation product, the really killer one that everybody wanted. Well, as luck would have it, this turned out to be the project from hell. I wasn't going to let us fail, and we made our date by working 7-day weeks and through most vacations for an entire year. We got to launch, and senior management signed off on a big, long list of risks, and it flopped. It flopped at every single customer. A few weeks later, I was in a conference room sitting across from the president, who was immaculately dressed in her power red jacket. None of the VPs or directors in the room would make eye contact with me. My palms were sweaty, and she started peppering me with questions. How many this? When that? How much of this? I fumbled with my Excel spreadsheets, and she said to me, "Don't you know how important this is?" Yes. Well, then act like it. I walked out of the room with my head down, and I got in the hall and said to myself, wow, I was in charge. I really let the company down. A couple weeks later, I went to the biggest human genetics meeting of the year. And in a room packed with our customers and prospects, our featured speaker presented really crappy data. I went back to the trade show booth and spent the entire afternoon promising that we had it under control and would have fixes for everything. That night, a bunch of us went out to a bar to blow off some steam. As we were walking over, my cell phone rang. It was my mother. "Greg, Grandma's died." I stood on the corner with my phone in one hand and holding an umbrella in the other. She said to me, "You were so close with your grandma, surely you're not thinking of skipping the funeral." Well, she was right. I was considering skipping the funeral. And I walked back to my hotel room, and when I got there, I just burst into tears, thinking about how proud my grandmother was of me. I did go to the funeral. I flew directly from the conference. They held it a day so I'd be able to make it. A few weeks later, I was still really down. Now it was Yom Kippur, the biggest day of the Jewish year. On Yom Kippur, the big thing is we don't go to work, we fast, and we go to services and pray and reflect on our life and try to think about what we can do better. Well, it was 3 in the afternoon, and I was sitting towards the back by myself. My head was back and my eyes were closed, and I was conserving my strength because I hadn't had any food or water for 20 hours. Up at the front, they were chanting from the Torah, and I opened my eyes and I looked down at the translation, and I caught the words, "Don't turn to idols, don't make molten gods." Well, my immediate thought was, okay, idol worship, that was that ancient statue worshiping thing, that's no longer relevant in the modern world. When this phrase popped into my head, it was like a clear, quiet voice that said, "You need to do what's best for the company." The breath caught in my throat, and my stomach clenched a little bit. We only used that phrase, "do what's best for the company," when we were justifying something that was unpopular, like a layoff or a canceled project, or shipping a product to customers that we knew wasn't really ready to go. I thought about the nature of a company. It's this amorphous entity with a brand logo. And I realized that doing what's best for the company is not the same as doing what's best. I said to myself, my God, have I turned my company into an idol? I realized that I couldn't be a family-first person if I was working 90 hours a week. And right then and there, I decided I had to stop doing what's best for the company and start putting people first. I needed to take care of myself and I needed to take care of my family. A year later, I cut my hours by a third without changing jobs, and not a single person at work noticed. In fact, my career was thriving because I was not tired and strung out all the time. And at home, my life became a joy. There was a day I walked past the living room door and I glanced in and I saw my preschool daughter playing with a friend of hers. It wasn't the wild, rambunctious play that I was used to. They were sitting cross-legged with their heads really close together, having a very intense, deep conversation. My eyes teared up as I realized that if I hadn't been home, I would have missed this irreplaceable moment. I can look back at a time in my life when I thought I was a screw-up, and I chased a false idol that work could somehow validate me. I busted my idol and started putting people first, which helped me thrive at work and, more importantly, at home with my family. And I can help you do the same thing, only much faster and with fewer mistakes along the way. My name is Dr. Greg Marcus, and you can start this process today if you just remember this one thing. When you work less, you're worth more. And if you'd like to learn more about this process, please go check out my book, Busting Your Corporate Idol, Self-Help for the Chronically Overworked. You can find it on Amazon.com or on my website, idolbuster.com.